Hello everyone, welcome back to the Entrepreneur Odyssey. This of course is the show where we hear from founders and talk about their challenges and learn from the painful mistakes so we can hopefully avoid them ourselves. And of course, before we get started, I would like to thank our sponsors AI Efficacy, who help our clients build a lead generation system that actually works and that actually books calls on calendars. But on to our very astute and exciting guest, Amera Fattah, founder of Sweet Stories, Metro Detroit's premier brand management advertainment industry. And can I just say, Amera coined that particular phrase to describe her philosophy in terms of merging advertisement and entertainment to create immersive experiences that make brands impossible to ignore. She works with real estate teams, service businesses, and multi-agent organizations through her flagship systems, UDOs. Is that how I pronounce it? UDIOS?
It's Udios, but it's very similar. I like Udios.
Studios, I love it, yeah. And it's an outsourced brand department as a service. Before Sweet Story, she built and ran Eventicity, a wedding planning company which she founded straight out of university. Welcome to the podcast. What a great resume, Amera.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. And I love your merging of words in both of your businesses. It's very creative, which I think obviously works for what you do. So let's talk about the first company you actually founded, which, as you said, was right after university, Eventicity. How did your wedding planning become a business rather than just, a skill, I suppose?
With the wedding planning company, Eventicity, it was kind of the culmination of what am I good at, what am I known for, and how can I better help the people around me. And right out of university, I was like, okay, what is it that I can do? I like working. So I worked a corporate job, but in my free time and in the time that I really asked myself some profound questions, I was like, okay, I want to start a company. I want to be a businesswoman. I want to build that career path, because the career path that I had chosen and was pursuing was actually medicine. So I was in university as a biology major and, got more involved with student activities, student congress, student leadership, different things that kind of invited me into a different world of communication and public relations, which allowed me to shift into entrepreneurship in its own right. So through graduation and exploring myself and my identity, I decided to pursue entrepreneurship. And I'm good at events, and I'm talented with event design and connecting with people through taking an idea of, I want this event to be this way, or I want this room to feel like this, and being able to turn that idea into imagery and transform a space that can invite people in.
I love that. And I bet your clients loved your vision and loved you. And so Eventicity and your current business are almost on opposite ends of the spectrum. A large scale events business versus a micro level brand detail. How did you then transition into Sweet Story?
COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of companies and a lot of industries. And it was also an eye-opener that business has to shift, whether it's through competitive advantage, whether it's through technology, whether it's through just emerging trends. And with COVID, as the wedding planning industry changed and as events changed, I made that decision to really look at what's working. And what was working at the time is that people had a lot of conversations around branding, my brand. And through those conversations of how do you utilize this off time when the world is just shut down to start something that matters to you. And it turned into, what do I like to do? What would I do if the whole world just changed? It's not the Instagram algorithm anymore. There is a worldwide change that's happening. And so Sweet Stories evolved from being able to take events and look at it like, what makes an event an event? Of course, it's experience. What draws people in? What keeps them there for a long time? looking at the details and then asking yourself why those details matter. So if somebody's at an event for 2 hours and they have a positive experience, great, but why? Why was it positive? Was it the music? Was it the ambiance? Was it the branded space? Was there promotional items? You know, if it's a wedding, was it the food? Was it the couple? Was it the ambiance? Like, what distinguishes an event as a positive experience?
Right.
Because that becomes a memory to people. So looking at those details and asking the question why, it naturally evolves into what is it? And a lot of times that conversation was mutual, that it's the brand experience, it's the logo, for business conversations, it's the logo, it's the corporate identity that transcends through placement, strategic placement. Why are things set up this way? Do we want customers to purchase something, or do we want customers to linger? You know, depending on the type of events, as a corporate company, the brand experience can shift. But it gets into that micro detail. What is the audience experiencing? What are they seeing? What are they smelling? What are they hearing? What are they tasting? Every sense. And now, even after COVID, and more so today than ever, it's the attention industry. How long can you keep somebody's attention? And asking that question, you kind of just go into more questions of why do you want to keep somebody's attention? Well, what messages are you trying to convey with those questions? So it's the fruition of, why do people advertise? Why do people entertain? Once you answer that question, we have a reason. You want to advertise for this reason. You want to entertain for this reason. That mutual word was advertainment. I did see that it existed before the company has its name of the Advertainment company. However, it hasn't had that notoriety, public facing experience to be promoted in the way that it is, but companies are doing it. It's strategic advertising, it's strategic brand placement, and it's branded entertainment all in one.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, in fact, I want to hear it from your words. I don't want to summarize what it means, right? Advertainment, for someone hearing it for the first time, what does it mean for you? And say for prospective clients, what do you feel the amalgamation of that means, and how does that then translate in terms of sweet stories and producing something for a customer?
So in simplest terms, advertainment is advertising and it's entertainment. Advertising, entertainment. So advertainment is the fusion of utilizing advertising channels for entertainment purposes. And businesses want attention through exposure. Traditional advertising is transactional. Here's a message, purchase something, act according to my message. That's traditional advertising. How does advertainment differ from traditional advertising? Advertainment brings the audience in through different sensory experience, whether it's keeping somebody's eyesight for longer and being able to say, stare, immerse yourself in this experience. It might be music, it might be a combination of different senses, but that advertainment is, the objective is that time span. It's the depth of the details. And it's to a company owner, it's really being able to say, are you advertising strategically? And are you entertaining your audience in a way that the message resonates? It doesn't have to be entertainment like music at a concert, but it can be entertainment in a way, whether it's animation on your website, as simple as that, or creating a message that resonates with the audience so your brand remains memorable.
Love that. And I think so many founders need that, right? In a world where our attention is pulled in a million different directions, having something that is entertaining is going to grab someone's attention. So I love that. I love that. And Unios is described as an outsourced brand department as a service, particularly for real estate teams. Why real estate? What made that vertical the right one to focus on for you?
The one thing that gets distorted in the real estate industry is brand experience. It's a common theme amongst different brokerages, different real estate companies, and agents. So working in the real estate industry throughout multiple marketing roles and working with agents one-on-one and brokerages one-on-one and through mergers and different corporate experiences that the brand identity transcends through, a lot of times the message gets miscommunicated. A lot of times the agents lack that cohesion in their branding. The brokerage doesn't have the capacity to market according to the corporate brand guidelines, but also to the agent expectations and what's actually happening in their local communities. And we operate as an outsourced brand department, but also as self-paced brand systems, so that way we can be a part of that solution in maintaining cohesion across the brand experience platform for real estate companies, whether it's an agent, a brokerage, or a corporation.
That sounds great. So it's actually transcending across different industries. You're not really just focusing on real estate. If the formula works, there's no reason why it can't work in lots of different sectors. That's great. That's great. So you've been transparent about sort of going, well, let's say, I don't know how much you want to share with the audience, but sort of going from a startup, zero, to, doing really, really well, and then to kind of doing not as well, right? What was the specific trigger that caused the ups and downs, and what does rebuilding look like this time around for you?
The specific trigger that caused me as a founder to reevaluate the company in the direction that we're going and make some hard decisions is how much can I take on myself? Not just realistically, but opportunistically. Where can I still see opportunity and growth and not be disappointed in myself or in entrepreneurship? I don't think entrepreneurship is for me, but
Really? Okay.
I am for entrepreneurship. And what that means is I have a different work ethic. I can thrive in, a corporate environment. Entrepreneurship allows a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom into your schedule, into your lifestyle and things like that. But it takes a certain type of person to take a company from small business to startup to large company. So when I say I don't think entrepreneurship is for me, is because it takes a particular work ethic. You're not working a 9 to 5, you're working a 24/7.
Yes.
So therefore, I am for entrepreneurship, is that my magic is I can take the imaginary into something tangible. I can take idea into imagery. And a lot of people question, where can their creative expression lead them professionally, financially? How can I make my creativity and my uniqueness something that I can monetize? And that's my secret sauce. That's what Sweet Stories is. We're branding, whether it's personal branding or corporate branding, they are one and the same, and it does span across multiple industries. The trigger for me is really, can I wear all of those hats that an entrepreneur in startup mode can? And as a mompreneur, it can be challenging, and it can be deterring, and it can be disappointing, and it can be frustrating. But it is that determination that I know that I can do this on behalf of somebody else so they can have the opportunity of entrepreneurship. Is it the retirement plan? Not necessarily. But is it a plan that somebody else can utilize and make their retirement plan? Yes. That's what kept us going through the tough decisions in the past couple of years. Going on that roller coaster of growth mode and not so growth mode as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I love that introspection, right? Because it is okay to kind of, like, you're gonna have to make difficult decisions, and sometimes that means going backwards to then go forwards again, right? And I want to commend you for that, because that's not an easy thing to do. And so yeah, congratulations. That's great. And then what is it like? So what does the Sweet Stories look like in the new phase? Let's say, where are you ideally sort of wanting it to go down?
It's alleviating the dependency on me as the founder. And by doing so, the mission can be upheld that we're a self-operative, connective platform. I am a visionary, and I am aware of my superpower. a child, that I can see things in terms of the future and how to access that through our energy, through our vibration, through our intention. And Sweet Story's mission to be a self-operative connected platform means that it is not dependent on me as a founder, as a CEO, as a managing director, as the marketing, as the HR, as finances, all of those things that so many people can say, that sounds like me, I'm doing that every day, help.
Yeah.
And now with the rise of AI and AI agents and things like that, one of the things that we want to work on is that brand experience and bringing that into whether it's robotics, AI agents. Companies want a dedicated brand experience agent in the real world, not going through a screen to access their AI agent. They want it just as realistic as their company representatives. So in real estate, it's a real estate agent. You know, that future that we talk about AI agents, it's not the future anymore. It's actually happening. But how do we bring in the brand experience all the way to that interaction?
Yeah. So having an agent per industry, if you like, or for each company, really, right? That's what you wanna.
Yes.
It sounds like you wanna go down. Yeah.
When you go to a sporting game and you are in the stadium, there's mascots, there are people walking around, selling snacks, things like that. If you go drive around and you notice a fast food restaurant, they have a mascot as their logo. If you shop on Amazon, you're familiar with Alexa. What is going to happen in the upcoming time that I'm not going to refer to as the future?
Yeah.
With these icons, with these characters. You can already turn your face into an avatar on Facebook.
Yeah. Easy.
The reality is being distorted as we speak.
Yeah.
I can be online as a completely fictitious character. So therefore, these fictitious characters that are online as fast food mascots, as sporting mascots, as different industry mascots, are going to make their way into the real world more than costumes that a human puts on. They're going to make their way into the world with the same technology that the AI agents operate through. And now you've got Tesla bots, you've got different bots that are coexisting in different work environments. And when you think about the environment that all of these are co-creating, you have a different conversation about now how can we bring brand experience all the way from our system operations to our customer interactions.
Yes, that makes so much sense. I love that. I really, really love that, and I bet your clients do as well, right? So you touched on you touched on AI. What are you using? What sort of tools are you using in your business right now to help you with some of what your vision is for the business?
Familiar and utilizing with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Claude Design, Canva AI, all of these different platforms that are offering AI agents. We use AI in our website as a chat agent. We use it on our online courses for an AI tutor. So on the most basic level, it is available as an AI agent, but getting into that self-operative mode is our next direction to get started and implement as a company.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it is the processes, and that's what so many of the clients that we work with struggle with is how do we get those seamless processes in place to kind of sustain the business as it is now, but also to prepare for future growth. So I hear that a lot, so that makes sense. Your blog and your content on LinkedIn talk about brand not just being visual, it's about reputation management and emotional resonance. How do you use content and thought leadership as a growth channel for Sweet Stories itself?
Sharing the message. Content is there to speak on your behalf. It is a medium amplifier. So I'm the medium. If you walk into a museum, there's different artifacts, there's different mediums there, whether it's paper, texture, etc. And it's an amplifier of that. It is whatever you want to showcase to the world through your profile. And with Sweet Stories, we utilize content as our amplifier. This is the message we want to connect with you. We want to be that resource for you to learn about branding, to learn about how you can do it yourself, but also know that we're here for you if you want that guided support in growing your brand experience and, you know, being seen, sought, and successful through all of your brand efforts, whether it's through Advertainment or it's outsourced brand management or it's our online services and products.
That's great. So the brand creative industry is being disrupted, as we already talked about, via AI, Canva, AI, Adobe, Firefly. There's so many out there. Are your clients asking about it? And then how do you position Sweet Stories in a world where I guess anyone can design to some extent?
Is it just me, but I feel like it's one of those things where I'm so excited to look back in a couple of years and see how far we've come in talking about AI and the capabilities that we're talking about now. Because there is such a large learning curve with AI that it's almost an AI deterrent. But all of the conversations are around, you have to learn AI. Companies are now asking, you know, before they hire, do you know AI? It's now becoming, you know, a course and major in universities. So AI is happening. The way that it's happening, there has to be some kind of shift in the AI industry itself too, because it's kind of like the technology and the evolution of phones. There's still a generation out there that is a very large part of the workforce that is just deterred by AI because it's like, how do I even type up a prompt? And a lot of people use AI like Google, sometimes myself, just with efficiency, but with the capabilities and you seeing the potential with AI from YouTube videos and, you know, me being a self-learner, there has to be some simpler form through these ChatGPT and Claude AI and things like that. And I think Claude AI, maybe you could agree with me, was a little different. It came out after, or it became more popular after ChatGPT and the conversation.
It's become hugely popular.
Yeah, because it talked back to you like you would talk with the customer service agent.
It does, and it challenges you, I find.
Yes.
It challenges you, which I need as a business owner.
With different prompts and with ChatGPT, it's like you can read it and be like, yeah, that sounds good. Not questioning, wait, what was missed? What was not missed? What was that? Unless you put it into the prompt.
Yes, exactly.
And you have to have some knowledge about prompts and writing prompts and how to talk to the AI to get the response that you want or to utilize it as efficiently as you can. And because of that, I feel like it's been a deterrent or it's just been an efficacy obstacle.
Yeah. And you're so right, because there's quite a few people I talk to who are like, oh, you know what, AI just doesn't work. I typed in a question and it just gave me back complete jargon. And I'm like, well, you need to train it. It does need to be trained. It's like any other new employee, you need to train it, but also, like you say, it's the correct questions. You put in garbage, you get out garbage, right? It's like with anything. But you're right. Any job you go to is asking for AI. What do you know about AI? I'm getting, lots of agencies come to me asking if I want a job because obviously I've got the knowledge, but I'm like, no. I'm going on my founder journey. That's it.
No.
But so let's then go back to sort of Udios. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And what does the first contact of a client to delivery look like for you guys?
Sure. So the backstory of why Udios was created was for efficacy and efficiency. It's for companies to implement a sustainable system. Because of my experience in working in real estate and brand experience being distorted between the brokerage and the corporate brand, and being distorted between the brokerage and the agent, and then being distorted amongst the agent, the brokerage, and the corporation, I saw that gap very early on. And corporate wants agents to market themselves. Agents want corporate to help them market themselves. And the brokerage is there like, we've got resources, they're online, kind of figure it out here, depending on their growth phase, yes?
Sure.
And conversations happen around, we have marketing. Marketing and branding lead to very different conversations once you get in depth. On a vague conversation and just brief introduction of what's your brand, what's your company up to, yes, you might touch base on marketing and branding, but branding is in the details. Branding is the why. Branding is the emotional resonance. Branding is the memory. Branding is that question of why do we do what we do? And it's often subliminally the first thing that's ever talked about when a company started. Why are we going to start a company? Who's our audience? Why are they our audience? Why should we keep going? Why? Like, why? And I'm sure with your conversations with a lot of founders, you've probably had that, like, I'm doing this because,
Yes.
because this is why it's important to me. Why?
It's like having that, yeah, your North Star. Why are you doing it? Why are you pushing through all the hard times? Absolutely.
For me, it's that why, like, entrepreneurship isn't for me, but I am for entrepreneurship. Why? So that's what branding is. And marketing is how are things done? Okay, let's publish it online. Okay, let's put up a billboard. Let's get our website going. Let's create marketing campaigns and emails. That's marketing. You need branding. So Udios is that solution in being able to say, okay, what's your strategy? What's your brand strategy? Why? Who's your audience? And answering those common questions that typically happen in a in-depth brand profile. Being able to assess your company. What are you up to? Why are you doing the things that you do? Who's your audience? What's your growth strategy? Especially because in real estate, agents are selling themselves. And the brokerages are in competition with their community. And the corporate identity is really there to ensure the brand guidelines are abided by, to offer that growth landscape for the brokerages. You know, there's a lot of different reasons depending on the company and things like that, of course. But real estate is very expansive as an industry, but it's also very vertical. And if one thing can be implemented, it can make its way all the way to us general consumers in our homes. However, it goes to the branding. What is the message? Why are we conveying this, etc.? Udios offers real estate companies a systemic approach to market themselves through branding. Meaning, here's the strategy that's built in. Here's the style that's built in. This is how you showcase and this is how you implement the plan moving forward. Those are currently available as our pre-built style and strategy kits. And then the Udios brand department is there to say, hey, we have so many agents, we have different teams, we have a lot of ongoing things. This can be outsourced because we're agnostic to a particular way of how things are done, but we're still familiar with the brand guidelines and the things that need to be implemented. We can then offer that industry expertise to the agents and to the brokerage rather than continuing on the path that all of the in-house marketing directors and marketing coordinators work through, and that it's just a defined path. So Udios is our solution to the real estate industry in streamlining branding and making it simple to grow their brand.
I love that. And I think it's great that you can bring those expertise, right? Because you're not working with just one or two real estate companies, you're working with multiple, and you're building that knowledge base. So that's fantastic. So last couple of questions. You've been an entrepreneur since 2014, almost before it was cool to call yourself an entrepreneur or a founder, although you now don't necessarily want to be an entrepreneur. What would you say is the biggest mistake you had in your journey, and what would you say early stage entrepreneurs can build in terms of their brand? So 2 questions in one there.
The biggest mistake throughout the entrepreneurial experience has been having that perspective of being a mistake. And of course, that's my optimism speaking on my behalf too.
Yeah.
But that is the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. And every time I'm like, that was a mistake, I did it wrong, I just go on this spiral of negativity. But when I'm like, you know what, the Einstein quote of I didn't fail 1,000 ways, I didn't fail 1,000 times, I just found 1,000 ways that don't work. I
love that.
It's mindset, and it's that determination beyond belief. I mean, you're in your own spiral of, I'm set on this. I know it's going to work. I know it's going to work. And it's challenging because in small business, you do make a lot of quote unquote mistakes because you're like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to hire first. No, I should work until I can't manage it and then I should hire. And you're having a lot of those conversations. I'm curious if you interviewed any billionaire currently and said, did people think you were crazy when you first started? How many responses you'd get as yes, you know? So many documentaries about entrepreneurs are like, they failed. And these people are probably walking around, including myself. It's just like, yeah, but I see it. I see it so vividly that this is what doesn't feel as real as that vision that I have. And my conversations with a lot of founders and entrepreneurs is that same level of understanding that like they have this vision. They see it so vividly for their brand, and I get down into the details of why do you want to start your company? Why is this different? Why are you making this shift? And extracting the desire brings out a lot of the reasoning. So the biggest mistake that I've made is sulking into that problem rather than ascending through the solution. And I like that quote, but
yes,
because it's challenging. You wake up as an entrepreneur and you're just like, please help.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's like, yes, but there are a lot of times where you're like, I'm just going to figure this out.
Yeah.
I have to.
You've got no choice, right?
Yeah, and anytime that I've ever been like, I regret this, or that was a mistake, I take accountability for it. And I'm like, yeah, but now that you know better, what are you going to do?
Yes.
So.
I love that. It's almost like not holding on to it, you know, because I think you've just got to accept that you're going to make mistakes during this journey. And actually, even relabeling it a mistake, it's a learning.
Yeah.
Right? We're learning every day, we're acquiring knowledge in order to get to our success, our growth goals. Great advice. Absolutely great advice. I love it.
It's mindset, it's perseverance, it's determination, it's resiliency, it's consistency, it's persistency, it's showing up as your best self.
Yeah, I love that. Even when you don't feel your best self, it's still showing up as your best self.
Yes. I'm like, you know, I've made it this far and here we are. So just showing up.
But you know what, Amera, your passion is so visible to see and it's so infectious, and I'm like, I recommend founders and anyone who listens to this podcast go check out Sweet Stories, because I know that you do a phenomenal job because I've seen your website and also now I've gotten to know you a little bit. I can see your passion, which I know will travel into the work that you do for customers. So well done, and thank you for being on our podcast today.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, it's been a great conversation, and I just want to share a few of my highlights. Obviously, you've gone from planning weddings to getting through a global pandemic to build an entirely new model of how brands grow. You really, I feel, epitomize the entrepreneur odyssey in every sense of the phrase. Concept of advertainment in that intersection of advertisement and entertainment, I think is going to stick with our listeners for a long time. And I think you're gonna, whilst it may have been around before, it's the first time I've heard it, and I'm sure it's the first time many of our listeners have heard it. And so for anyone listening, as I mentioned before, if you want to find out more about Sweet Stories and Udios brand system, head to sweetstories.com. That's sweet, STOREES.com. And if Amera's story about breaking that founder dependency resonated, particularly around sort of automating your operations and lead generation, please do visit ai-efficacy.com to book a free discovery call with the team. Amera, thank you again for being on the Entrepreneur Odyssey. I hope to have you back in the future.
Thank you for having me, and we're happy to be a resource to your audience, and I'm excited to watch this back. I think there were a lot of great questions and, you know, clips that could be useful to both our audiences. So thank you for the questions.
Absolutely. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please do follow us on YouTube, and we hope to see you next time. And until then, keep building.